on the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis.
From the VON Newsline, this is the VON Major Newscast.
Good evening. I am Daniel Moore in with your VON Major News Package for today, Monday, March 9th, 2020. In our lead stories nationally, necessary steps being taken to ensure SKN is at high level of preparedness for COVID-19, says Prime Minister Harris. And woman charged for illegal firearm, police seized 2 illegal firearms for 2020. Regionally, Guyana court halts release of election results amid fraud accusations. Internationally, Democratic presidential hopeful Joe Biden endorsed by another ex-rival. And in sports, Australia beats India to claim a 5th Women's T20 World Cup title. We'll have the details to these and other stories after this short break.
Another look.
Different from how you've seen it before.
Another look.
Takes an in-depth look into business, politics, science, technology, religion, and more.
Another look.
Featuring documentaries from the BBC, regional features, and local ones too.
Another look.
Every Monday at 3 p.m. on the Eastern Caribbean's Powerhouse.
Wrong.
Welcome back, and now for the national news. Prime Minister Dr. The Honorable Timothy Harris has given assurance to citizens and residents of St. Kitts and Nevis that the Federation is in a state of readiness with respect to the coronavirus or COVID-19. As of today, March 9th, 3,888 people have died globally from COVID-19 and 111,753 infected, most of the cases from China. Here is Prime Minister Harris.
The government of St. Kitts and Nevis wishes to assure our citizens and residents that all the necessary steps are being taken to ensure that the Federation is at a high level of preparedness for this outbreak. Since the discovery of the COVID-19 in China in December of 2019, we have witnessed the rapid spread of the new coronavirus to other countries and regions around the world, including Europe, Africa, and the Americas.
Although there is no confirmed cases of the virus in the Federation, he stated that there is a possibility that it would reach SKN.
In St. Kitts and Nevis, we have no confirmed cases at this time. Given the spread of the new virus, it is highly likely, however, that it will reach our shores. Our government has therefore been on high alert, and the CMO has assured that we are taking every precaution and making all necessary preparations to respond and contain the spread of the virus when it arrives.
Prime Minister Dr. The Honorable Timothy Harris. In police news, Charissa Paris of Bath Village, Nevis, was granted bail on Friday, March 6th, after being charged recently for the offenses of possession of ammunition, possession of a firearm, and smuggling. During a recent search that was conducted on Charissa's premises by the police, one Taurus pistol with 12 rounds of 40mm ammunition were found along with a quantity of cannabis. Bail was granted in the sum of $150,000 EC dollars with 2 sureties. Her bail conditions are that she should surrender all her travel documents, she should not travel outside of the jurisdiction with the permission of the state, and that she should report to the Charlestown Police Station on Mondays and Fridays between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. In more police news, investigations into a second firearm that was also recently found here on Nevis continue. A search that was carried out on an empty lot of land in the low Ground Estate area resulted in the seizure of a 1M4 carbine 5.56 rifle with 1 magazine and 30 rounds of 5.56 ammunition being taken into police custody. The Taurus pistol and the M4 rifle are just the first illegal art firearms to be seized by the police for 2020. President of the St. Kitts and Nevis Bar Association, Mrs. Dahlia Joseph Rao, has issued a statement regarding the threats of violence against the Honorable Justice Eddie Ventos following his recent ruling in the case of Tanzania Tobin Tanzil versus Lindsey Grant and Janelle Powell. The statement reads in part, and I quote, "The Bar's Council strongly condemns such attacks on a member of our judiciary. The independence of the judiciary is a fundamental pillar of our democratic society. We cannot allow the safety and independence of the judiciary to be compromised in any way by baseless and unwarranted threats because some persons are dissatisfied with the ruling of a judge," end quote. In the statement, President Joseph Rao added that although the public are entitled to express their views, they must do so lawfully and respectfully. The Honorable Judge has been provided with additional security as a result. According to the statement, whatever security measures are required to guarantee the safety of the judge must be implemented by the relevant authorities as a matter of priority. In light of the fact that this being an election season in St. Kitts and Nevis, the President urged the leaders and senior members of the respective political parties to lead by example and encourage your supporters to be civil, respectful, and responsible in their discourse at all times. Leader of the opposition in St. Kitts and Nevis, the Honorable Dr. Denzil Douglas, has condemned unwarranted threats against resident High Court judge in St. Kitts, Justice Eddie Ventos. According to Dr. Douglas, it is with shock and dismay that I have observed in recent days the public threats against life of the Honorable Justice Eddie Ventos by certain individuals on social media. In my capacity as leader of the opposition of St. Kitts and Nevis, I strongly condemn such bullying and disrespect of a distinguished member of our judiciary, he said. He added, "It is indeed an act of pure cowardice when persons in our society hide behind pseudonyms and fake profiles to injure the reputation and make threats to life and security of others." This comes following a statement issued by President of the St. Kitts and Nevis Bar Association, Mrs. Dahlia Joseph Rao, regarding threats of violence against Justice Eddie Ventos, following his recent ruling in the case of Tanzania Tobin Tanzil versus Lindsey Grant and Janelle Powell. According to the statement, the Honorable Judge has been provided with additional security as a result. Nevis's Junior Minister of Gender Affairs, the Honorable Hazel Brandy Williams, has issued an address in light of the observance of International Women's Day. International Women's Day is observed every year on March 8th to celebrate women's movement and struggle for equality. I Am Generation Equality, Realizing Women's Rights was the 2020 theme.
International Women's Day presents us with yet another opportunity to reflect on the numerous gains that we have made in improving the lot of our women and to chart the way forward in establishing a new paradigm for gender equality in our society. Gender equality in all its manifestations is the hallmark of any well-functioning society and democracy.
According to Mrs. Brandy Williams, in order to achieve gender equality, men and women must endorse each other.
However, if we are to achieve true gender equality, then there must be meaningful partnership and coexistence of both our men and women, be it in the home or places of work, in the schools, and in the corridors of our parliament. This partnership and peaceful coexistence must entail men and women uplifting and supporting each other in helping to break down systemic barriers which have long hindered our societies from moving on to progressive pathways of excellence.
The Honorable Hazel Brandy Williams. Government, particularly the Federal Ministry of Sports, is moving ahead with the creation of a national sports policy for St. Kitts and Nevis. The ministry aims to chart the way forward for a concentrated strategy to develop systems and infrastructure, as well as outline the responsibilities of various departments and institutions towards this goal. Director and co-founder of the Caribbean Sport and Development Agency in Trinidad and Tobago, Mark Mungal, was contracted by the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, or UNESCO, to lend his extensive expertise to lead this process. Mr. Mungal will be in the Federation for the next few weeks, leading national stakeholders in the consultation process. Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Youth and Sports, the Honorable Sean Richards, welcomed the consultant during a meeting last Wednesday, March 4th. He outlined that key areas that the policy must reflect include gender equality and participation in sports, pursuing healthy lifestyles, and alternate pathways for children. Consultations began on a Thursday, March 5th, 2020. Participants included representatives for the Department of Sports and Education, St. Kitts and Nevis Olympic Committee, the National Commission of UNESCO, and the National Commission of UNESCO. The meeting was designed to establish core principles necessary to facilitate the creation of a federal policy document. The National Sports Policy is expected to be finalized and operational in May 2020. And finally, in our national news segment, the Department of Environment is continuing to embark on several initiatives to safeguard the environment in St. Kitts and Nevis. That's according to Minister of Environment, the Honorable Eugene Hamilton. During a ceremony to hand over equipment to aid the Refrigeration and Air Conditioning Department at the Clarence Fitzroy Bryant College, or CFBC, he said the National Ozone Unit within the Department of Environment has been working on reducing the Federation's emissions of ozone-depleting substances since 1998. Additionally, he said that in St. Kitts and Nevis, the main users of the ozone-depleting substances, or ODS, are in refrigeration and air conditioning sectors, and consequently the main focus for the Federation has been to improve training and awareness in these sectors. CFBC is the leading source of trained technicians who meet the service personnel shortfall in the sector. The minister stated that in order to fulfill these aims, the department has promised to seek out funding that would benefit the students as well as the college and the refrigeration and air conditioning department. That is the national news segment. You can visit our website at www.vaughanradio.com or check us out on Facebook at Vaughan Radio or our Vaughan Radio YouTube channel for these and other stories. News from across the region is next.
We know you have your personal as well as your business needs, and we're here to help. Our knowledgeable staff will work with you to help you achieve the financial success that you or your company needs in a competitive market. We offer solutions to make your banking experience easier, like our savings and checking accounts. Be sure to ask about our youth savers accounts and our Bank of Nevis Go Club. We offer a wide range of personal loans, including mortgage, land, student, auto, and consumer loans. Have access to your funds instantly with our BeOnline internet banking and our debit and credit cards. We make international banking and investing easy. How's your business? Give it the leverage it really needs by letting the Bank of Nevis assist you with all the necessary funding for all your business expenses. It's that easy. What are you waiting for? The Bank of Nevis Limited. Improving the quality of life.
Like us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/The Bank of Nevis.
Welcome back, and now for the regional news. Guyana's top court on Sunday upheld an injunction blocking the Elections Commission from proclaiming a winner in this month's presidential election, delaying the results of a vote that has been marred by accusations of fraud. A protester was killed and demonstrators took to the streets after diplomats described credible evidence of fraud in the vote, which will decide who leads the former British colony that is at the edge of an oil boom set to transform its economy, according to usnews.com. Chief Justice Roxanne George said during a court session on Sunday that she would begin hearing the case on Tuesday to determine whether election officials will need to resume verification of votes in the area known as Region 4. The opposition says Region 4's results were released without verifying the votes at more than half of the polling stations, and that the results were inflated to put President David Granger ahead of the opposition challenger, Irfane Ali. The injunction prevents the Elections Commission from declaring a winner while the court reviews the case. The Elections Commission, in a statement on Sunday, promised to uphold its constitutional duties. Grenada's Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell said that an intimate partner of violence is a serious threat to the country and that affects every single area. NowGrenada.com quoted him as saying, "It burns me when I see any activity of this nature occurring around me. We must respect each other. We must love each other in a way that shows respect." Dr. Mitchell delivered the feature address at the signing ceremony for the latest project that will focus on putting the issue of gender-based violence and its consequences in the spotlight. The Spotlight initiative is funded by the European Union in collaboration with the United Nations. It will focus attention, coordinate human effort, and strategically utilize resources to accelerate progress towards reducing family violence and all forms of violence against women and girls in Grenada. The U.S. Ambassador Daniela Tramars, who was the head of the delegation to Grenada for signing, explained that the Spotlight Initiative is a 3-year program focusing on eliminating violence against women and girls. Grenada is one of 6 Caribbean countries that the Spotlight Initiative will be implemented. The other countries selected are Haiti, Jamaica, Belize, Guyana, and Trinidad and Tobago. The countries will receive grant funding from a collective pool of 50 million euros. Jamaica's Commissioner of Police, Major General Anthony Anderson, says implementation of the States of Public Emergency, or SOEs, is creating space for the police to erode the influence of gangs in hotspot communities. Citing the example of Salt Spring in St. James, he noted that the community, which was once a base for violent gangs, has been transformed and members of the security force can now move freely throughout the area. The top cop said that through a process of engagement and social interventions involving various stakeholders, the relationship between the residents and the police has significantly improved, Caribbean360.com says. Commissioner Anderson was speaking at a forum organized by the Caribbean Policy Research Institute, or CAPRI, dubbed Guns Out, the Splintering of Jamaica's Violent Gangs, at which CAPRI's report on the Transforming Citizen Security (AYAD) CSAY project was released. The 2-year crime-focused project was undertaken through support from the United Kingdom's Department for International Development, or DFID, and the involvement partnership with the Ministry of National Security. That is the regional news segment. International news is up next. Welcome back, and now for the international news. Democratic presidential hopeful Joe Biden has picked up another prize endorsement from a former rival, Cory Booker. The New Jersey senator tweeted, "The answer to hatred and division is to reignite our spirit of common purpose." He added that Mr. Biden won't only win, he will show there is more that unites us than divides us. Mr. Biden and Bernie Sanders are vying to be the Democratic nominee who will face Donald Trump in November. Kamala Harris, who was the only black woman in the Democratic field before she ended her campaign in December, endorsed Mr. Biden Sunday. The California senator's thumbs up has ignited speculation about whether Mr. Biden might select her as a running mate if he wins the Democratic presidential nomination. Both Mrs. Harris and Mr. Booker, who is also African American, are expected to appear alongside Mr. Biden at a rally in Detroit, Michigan this evening. Oil prices crashed in Asia on Monday by around 30% in what analysts are calling the start of a price war. Top oil exporter Saudi Arabia slashed its oil prices at the weekend after it failed to convince Russia on Friday to back sharp production costs. Oil prices have tumbled since Friday, when oil cartel OPEC's 14-member meet with its allies Russia and other non-OPEC members. It was held to discuss how to respond to a failing demand caused by the coronavirus. More in this BBC report.
As the number of cases of COVID-19 have risen, stock markets fear the economic disruption might be deeper, wider and longer lasting than assumed. So the emergence of an oil price war comes at a particularly precarious time. Lower costs for crude hurt the profits of oil companies whose shares have fallen by as much as a fifth, although motorists may benefit from lower prices at the petrol pump. But for investors, this is overshadowed for now by the fear of the greater financial damage the virus could inflict.
The Duke and Duchess of Sussex have made their last public appearance as working members of the royal family. Prince Harry and Meghan joined the Queen and other senior royals at the Commonwealth Day service at Westminster Abbey on Monday afternoon. The couple has been seen carrying out a series of public appearances in the UK before stepping back as working royals. From March 31st, they will stop using their HRH titles and receiving public money. The Duke and Duchess joined the Queen, who is head of the Commonwealth, the Prince of Wales, the Duchess of Cornwall, and the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge in central London Church. Last-minute changes meant the Cambridges and the Sussexes were led straight to their seats rather than waiting for the Queen and taking part in the procession as they did in 2019. And finally, in our international news segment, Sudan's Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok has survived an assassination attempt after his convoy was attacked in the capital of Khartoum. "I would like to assure the people of Sudan that I am safe and in good shape," Mr. Hamdok tweeted. We have more in this BBC report.
Images on Sudanese state television showed a convoy of damaged vehicles near the Kober Bridge, which connects Khartoum North to the Prime Minister's office in the city center. Security forces are now guarding the scene as investigations into the attack begin. The Prime Minister has responded on his official Twitter handle, declaring himself safe and in good shape. He also said that what happened today would not stand in the way of Sudan's transition. The country is struggling with a severe economic crisis that has persisted even after the ouster of former President Omar al-Bashir in April last year.
That is the international news segment. Sports is up next.
Business Center has
everything your business needs. Superior copy and printing services, business equipment and furniture, and a wide array of renting materials for all occasions. TDC Business Center, providing solutions that work.
Welcome back, and now onto sports. In cricket, Australia beats India to win their 5th Women's T20 World Cup title in front of 86,174 persons at Melbourne Cricket Ground. It was a near-perfect evening for the hosts, who posted 184 runs for 4 after a brutal 75 from Alicia Healy and opener Beth Mooney unbeaten 78. The victory also means Australia's dominance of women's cricket continues, and India once again fell short at a global final. The scores were Australia 184 for 5 with 20 overs, Mooney 78 not out, Healy 75 runs. India 99 runs off 19.1 overs, Sharma 33 runs, Schutt 4 for 18, Jonas Sen 3 for 20. Australia won by 85 runs. In tennis, the Indians Wells tournament has been cancelled because of concerns about the spread of the coronavirus. The tournament, a combined ATP and WTA event, which is one of the biggest and most prestigious outside of the Grand Slams, was due to start this week. Health officials in California said there was too great a risk to hold a large gathering of this size. Many of the world's leading players, including men's world number 2 Rafael Nadal, have already arrived in California for the event. The qualifying was set to start today, March 9th, with the main draw matches beginning on Wednesday. In more cricket, South Africa comfortably beat Australia in the third one-day international to complete a 3-0 whitewash. South Africa-born Marnus Labuschagne made 108, his maiden ODI century, but could only drag Australia to 254 for 7. The Proteas cruised their target with 27 balls remaining, with J.J. Smith hitting 84 from 98 balls. The scores were Australia 254 runs for 7 off 50 overs, Labuschagne 108 runs, Norjet 2 for 35. South Africa 258 runs for 4 off 45.3 overs, Smuts 84 runs, Klaasen 68 runs not out, Hazelwood 2 for 37. South Africa won by 6 wickets. Still in more cricket, England's fast bowler Jofra Archer is unlikely to play for the Rajasthan Royals in this year's Indian Premier League as he continues his recovery from an elbow injury. England says Archer is progressing as expected following a scan on a stress fracture sustained in South Africa. That's it for sports. The latest weather forecast is up next. The weather tonight, mainly fair. The weather tomorrow, mostly sunny and dry conditions. Winds east-northeast at 22 to 37 kilometers per hour or 12 to 20 knots, with gusts possible to 56 kilometers per hour or 30 knots. The sea is 1.5 to 2.4 meters or 5 to 8 feet, with northerly swells reaching 2.1 meters or 7 feet. A high surf advisory is in effect. A small craft caution is also in effect. The sunrise tomorrow is at 6:23 a.m. And that's how we wrap up the major news package for today, Monday, March 9th, 2020. Before we go, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Nationally, necessary steps being taken to ensure SKN is at high level of preparedness for COVID-19, says Prime Minister Harris. And women charged for illegal firearm, police seized 2 illegal firearms for 2020. Regionally, Guyana court halts release of election results amid fraud accusations. Internationally, Democratic presidential hopeful Joe Biden endorsed by another ex-rival. And in sports, Australia beats India to claim the 5th Women's T20 World Cup title. On behalf of the rest of the news team, I am Daniel Moore, wishing you a pleasant evening.